चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुन् श्रीयुतापदकमलम् श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं परिजना साहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Ashwin. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept our humble obeisances. Prabhuji, we are, yes, Prabhuji. Today's Kirtika Mataji is some program, and she went, so that we will and continue this one. Yeah, we are reading the chapter Canto 1, text 10, and chapter 10, and text number 5. So now over to Prabhuji, please.
Okay. Narayan Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyeta Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavate Yutam Shloke Bhakti Bhaktina Ashtaki. So we are on first canto, chapter 10, verse number 5. Nadya Samudra Giraya Samanashpati Virudha Valanti Ashadhayo Sharva Kamam Anuvrutu Tashyavai. Translation. The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Purport. I think we can tell Arya going to read the purport, yeah? Anybody can read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhu, please read the purport.
Okay, Prabhuji. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Since Maharaja Yudhishthira was under the protection of the Ajita, the infallible Lord, as above mentioned, the properties of the Lord, namely the rivers, oceans, hills, forests, etc., were all pleased, and they used to supply their respective quota of taxes to the king. The secret to success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Without his sanction, nothing can be possible. To make economic development by our own endeavors on the strength of tools and machinery is not all. The sanction of the Supreme Lord must be there. Otherwise, despite all instrumental arrangements, everything will be unsuccessful. The ultimate cause of success is the Daiva, the Supreme. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira knew perfectly well that the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of the mass of people. Actually, the state belongs to the Supreme Lord. The rivers, the forests, rivers, oceans, forests, hills, drugs, etc., are not creation of man. They are all creations of the Supreme Lord. And the living being is allowed to make use of the property of the Lord for the service of the Lord. Today's slogan is that everything is for the people, and therefore the government is for the people and by the people. But to produce a new species of humanity at the present moment on the basis of God consciousness and perfection of human life, the ideology of godly communism, the world has to again follow in the footsteps of kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira or Parikshit. There is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of things to live comfortably without enmity between man and man, or man and animal, or man and nature. The current control of Lord is everywhere, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of nature will be pleased. The river will flow profusely to fertilize the land. The oceans will supply sufficient quantities of minerals, pearls, and jewels. The forest will supply sufficient food, drugs, and vegetables. And the seasonal changes will effectively help produce fruits and flowers in profuse quantity. The artificial way of living, depending on factories and tools, can render so-called happiness only to the limited number at the cost of millions. Since the energy of mass of people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered. And for this, the mass is unhappy. Without being educated properly, the mass of people are following in the footsteps of the vested interest of by exploiting natural reserves. And therefore, there is acute competition between individual and individual and nation. There is no control by the Lord, by the trained agent of the Lord. We must look into the defects of modern civilization by comparison here, and should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthira to cleanse man and wipe out anachronisms. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the verse is the rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. So the verse means that due to the presence of Maharaj Yudhishthira, everything was ample, in ample supply. That makes citizens very happy when everything is available. Srila Prabhupada is explaining that when king is pious, and furthermore, if he's a pure devotee, the nature provides sumptuously. We all know that Maharaj Yudhishthira was very, very pious. Maharaj Yudhishthira's reign was as good as that of Maharaj Ramachandra. That, as we are reading in the verses, how everybody was so happy. The people were happy, the Brahmanas were happy, the cows were happy, and even the land was happy, so that everything was provided. Now the verse says it's like they paid taxes even without demanding, because the king was directly under the protection of Krishna. We find that when a king who is a devotee, it means it's protected by Krishna. And anyone who is protected by Krishna, then everything becomes auspicious. There'll be no shortage of anything, and people will live very, very happily. It's like heaven on earth. So the secret, as is written here in the words in italics, the secret is to live under the protection of Krishna. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita. If you go to chapter 18, almost towards the end, verse number 56, I'll read the verse for you. When Krishna tells Arjuna, Sarva karmani api sada kurvani mad vyapashriya mad prasadat avapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. So here Krishna says that any devotee, it means to, this refers to any devotee who is surrendered to Krishna, who lives under the protection of Krishna and offers all his activities for Krishna, he reaches Krishna. And this is how Krishna protects his devotee. So it's nothing unusual. Why? Or nothing so wonderful. Because Maharaj Yudhishthira was a pure devotee. Sri Prabhupada says in the lecture, all the 5 Pandavas were pure devotees of Krishna who lived with Krishna, under Krishna's protection. Now here, the main theme of the purport is, people think that to become economically strong will build up so many industries. And this will not last long, it will not endure. Because there are so many side effects if you build so many industries. Like here in Nairobi, we now have so many industries. If you go out of Nairobi, towns like Thika, so many industries. And too many industries means risking our health, artificial social structure, short life, practically no social or family lives. This is the lifestyle if you live in industrial places. And it's like people go to work early in the morning, by the time they come in the evening, all the energy is already drained and they have to work so hard. This is if you work in factories and industries. And the government sometimes is too proud, oh, they're creating jobs. But in the Varnashram system, there was no necessity of industries. It's not that there was no metal work, there was no gold work or bronze work or woodwork. Everything was there, but using simple tools, everything was created so accurately and so artistically. So it's not that man can live without industries. No, it's just a notion. People have, oh, work very hard, then make a lot of money and then enjoy yourself. Such a philosophy. Sri Prabhupada calls it a mammoth philosophy, a common philosophy, which is going to ruin the human energy. And it cannot really bring any happiness. Why? Because the land actually belongs to Krishna. The rivers, oceans, forests, hills, they were all created by Krishna, not by man. And today's government is very different. At least up to maybe 200 years ago, the kings used to rule all over the world. And people were much, much happier. Now, majority kind of governments are democratic, majority, which is also called capitalism. Capitalism means the government mostly by business class. And then there is communism in the poorer countries, where the government is by labor class. So whether you call it capitalism or communism, nobody's happy. What is the result? The result is the rich people keep getting richer and the poor become poorer and poorer. Such a big division. And there's a lot of suffering, a lot of breaking of laws, and no good ethics. People don't believe in ethics. People don't have good principles. And that is why practically everyone suffers. The rich suffers, the poor suffers. Now, if democracy is there, people can choose a good leader. If the leader turns out to be like Yudhishthira, then everything will be okay. Srila Prabhupada says, even if Krishna consciousness is a communism, Krishna, centered around Krishna. That means Krishna is the middle of the life. And the whole structure is built around in such a way that people will please Krishna and then people will be happy. But such a kind of notion or nature is not there. Today life is not God-centered. If it was, then there'll be no enmity between man and man, or man and animals, or between nature. Man will be happy, animals will be happy, and the nature will also be happy. Everyone can live very, very happily. Now, if Krishna is in control, means everything will be available in excess. If you put Krishna in the middle, and that is the whole idea, Srila Prabhupada says, is to bring about Krishna consciousness. If you do everything for Krishna, then Krishna will be happy, we will be happy. How? Because everything will be centered around Krishna. What do you call? Krishna tells Arjuna in the 9th chapter, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away, or anything you do it as an offering to me. In this way, you'll not be bonded. Otherwise, you become bonded. Bonded means you become more and more conditioned. And people do not know this secret. The art of working means to work for Krishna, not for yourself. Because when you say for yourself, it means people will be attracted towards sensual pleasure, sense enjoyment, and they'll ruin your life. It means a life without Krishna is a life living in darkness, or a life living in illusion. So much illusion is there. People think, if I do this, I'll become happy. If I get this, I'll be happy. But even after doing everything, or even after getting everything, why are they not happy? It means they have wrong direction. These days, small children, in the schoolboys have an idea that as I become older, I'll buy a very big car. And something I'll become rich, I'll have a big building. Then something as they grow older, oh, I'll marry, I'll have good children. But you'll find that it's not all that easy. And in most cases, it doesn't happen. That is why today, many people don't want to get into marriage, because there are so many difficulties, so many challenges. It's an artificial way of life. So the energy of the mass of people is now used in the factories. That is why the mass of people are not happy. For example, I give you an example of England. There are people who work in coal mines. Now, when you work in coal mines, you have to go underground. And underground, you find that there's hardly any air there, very little air, very little light. And most of them work maximum 20 to 30 years, because that is the government law, because the lungs become spoiled. And most of them don't even live longer. Or you find people working in factories. So much heat is there. So much heat is there that your skin actually burns. Or people working in supermarkets for long hours. What kind of life do they have? So if you judge today's environment, very, very artificial and very difficult. I remember I have worked in a shop and with long hours. And sometimes we were also told to come and work on Sundays. It was not easy because you can't go to temple. So it makes very difficult for someone who is spiritually minded, even in a simple lifestyle like this. So there is always a competition between man and man. Now, this kind of civilization, if you go to any big city of the world today, Nairobi, for example, has the biggest slum called Kibera. After Sahara Desert down to South Africa, Nairobi has the biggest slum. Very poor people stay there. And some well-off people also stay there. Some have good properties there. But anyway, they live in a very, very, very challenging situation. No good sanitation, no good supply of water, no good education, not easy. And even countries like America, they don't call it slums, they call it ghettos. Ghettos means where poor people live because they cannot afford to stay in very expensive areas. So this is happening everywhere in the world. Even in India, you find in big cities like Mumbai, they have slums, they call it basti. People stay there. This is happening because all this is a fake life. So this is what we call a civilization which is a misdirected civilization. People don't live happy life. Sri Prabhupada wanted that all of us live a natural life, a happy life in which you can have time to look after your health, look after your spiritual life, and live very happily. If you do that, then what happens? You'll progress in your spiritual life and you live a very healthy life. But people don't have this idea. People think there's no other option. And that is why people live a very miserable life. You find that people don't even get good food today. Very few people actually get good food. Most of them eat little and go to sleep. But say in case you were there in the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira, if you were a citizen there in Hastinapur, you'd be living a very, very happy life. And happy life means respect for each other, tolerance, then sacrifice. All these things would take place naturally. Because if the king is good, the citizens actually would love the king. And the king would contribute, so the citizens would contribute to the king. And the king will be able to rule very, very happily. Like in the times of Lord Ramachandra, when Ramachandra was the king, Ayodhya was so happy that Ramachandra in the evening would go in the disguise everywhere and see that all the people of Ayodhya are living happily, have had their meals and no complaints and live very nicely. But today, who is there to look after all that? Today, everyone has to look after oneself. There is no really a governor who looks after everyone. And due to, in the name of democracy, people, the so-called the leaders, they'll make very good announcements, promises that we'll do this for you, we'll do that for you. But really speaking, they don't do anything. Really speaking, whatever promises they give, out of the 10 promises, even if they fulfill 1 or 2 promises, people will be happy. But it doesn't happen. And it's not only here. In any country of the world, people are not happy the way they were happy in the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira or Maharaj Ramachandra, even up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was so bold that he made sure that everyone lived happily and everyone has had his share. And when he went out to look and he came across a place where he saw Kali personified, he was killing. He was sorry, was actually Kali personified. So in other words, the law was very strong. Today, even the law is not strong. People will, what do you call, get away by paying money and not getting a good justice. And this is happening. And furthermore, Kali Yuga is so evil that it is making people more and more evil, selfish, hypocritical. That is why Krishna consciousness is very, very important for the world. At least people get this idea of Krishna consciousness. People will live much, much better life. And they will progress in their life materially and even spiritually, and prepare to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, the whole system today is not correct. Neither the education nor the social structure, even the education given to our children is not sufficient, or is more or less one-sided, how to earn money. But there is no spiritual side taught to the children. And as they grow older, what happens? They become defiant to their own parents. Many of them leave the parents and go away and want to live independently with no guidance. And majority of them suffer. We have seen here in Nairobi, young boys, young girls, no good guidance. And furthermore, due to this invention of mobile phones and other things like Facebook and internet, people get weird ideas in their mind and they want to practice all those things. Today, you'll find that people, young boys, they get corrupted by drinking, smoking, womanizing in a very young age. Not just the boys, even the girls. The girls get spoiled at a very young age. It's a typical American culture. In America, it is the same system. By the time the girl reaches puberty, around 12 years or 13 years, she's already exposed to illicit sex. And many of them get pregnant at a very young age. And then they go to remove the fetus. This is happening. So Krishna consciousness values are very, very important. So unless the Varnashram system is not brought back, the world will remain or become day by day more or less like animals. That is why this section of Bhagavatam is very important. How Maharaj Yudhishthira is ruling and how everyone is happy. Because in the rule of Maharaj Yudhishthira, everyone was happy. And then when there's a just king like Maharaj Yudhishthira, it means the demigods are happy. The demigods will be so happy that they will provide anything you want. Formerly, there was no shortage, things like food, even in India. For many years, the Varnashram system has been practiced, and people were never short of food. There was no shortage of food, or clothing, or place to live. These three things were automatically gotten to every citizen. People lived in their families, in their communities. Now people live very, very far. We were just discussing this Sunday of a new institution opened in India. It's a kind of an insurance in India that people can buy when people become old, that in case they die, then who will do the funeral service? Who will take them to Samshan or the crematorium? Because more and more people are dying elderly. Their children are either in America or Europe or in other cities of India. Who will come to do their kriya? Not possible. So this is a new thing which has come into existence, and they're making a lot of money. They're charging, I was told, at least minimum 20,000 rupees. You have to pay in advance, and then everything is done. And you'll find it's a kind of a business which is happening. In the olden times, or at least some years ago, at least in Nairobi, this problem is not there, but it will come. If it has come in India, it will come also in Kenya. In Kenya, even if, like in Nairobi, if someone dies, if he doesn't have a son or a daughter, the neighbors will take the dead body through the crematorium, and they'll contribute and make sure that it's done in a decent way. That is, there's still some religious principles here in Kenya, but as the Kali Yuga advances, then everything will be spoiled. So Sri Prabhupada explains how important or how valuable our Krishna consciousness movement is. Because it's only in Krishna consciousness movement, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam are taught so nicely, which teaches you not just human values, but more than human values, where people can live more than human means, at least live a very decent life, get a good guidance, and everyone lives very, very happily. So this is the main theme of this purport, how so-called fake economic under economic kind of plans like bringing about industrialization or working on machines will ruin our human life, human energy. But in the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira, it was not so. Everyone lived very happily for for many, many years. As far as Maharaj Yudhishthira was the king, everyone lived very happily. Because to get someone like Maharaj Yudhishthira is not possible today. Because the greatest thing of Maharaj Yudhishthira was he was totally religious-minded person, truthful. He never spoke a lie in his life. And to get such a pious king, it is not possible. We all know the incident of Mahabharata. We find that in Mahabharata, people, when there was a time to choose who will be the next king, they call it the regent. Then there was Yudhishthira was brought, and Duryodhana was brought. And Bhishma told both of them, go and see what our Hastinapur is like, what our people are like. And as they went around in the evening, they brought the report. And Duryodhana spoke ill about his own people. Oh, people of Hastinapur are no good. And they are lazy, they are not doing this, they are not doing that. I'm the only good citizen of Hastinapur. When Yudhishthira Maharaj came, he gave completely an opposite report. He said the whole Hastinapur, people are following Varnashram system, people are very pious, people are abiding religious principles, and I think I'm not following religion very nicely. This is the comparison given between Yudhishthira and Duryodhana. So imagine that you are living right now with Yudhishthira. What kind of kingdom you would be enjoying? It will be a stress-free kingdom, no depression, everyone would live good life, no health issues, no school problems, no insurance problem, no court cases. It would be a happy, happy life. So this is the verse is speaking about. It's about King Yudhishthira's rule and his kingdom. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice class about we are talking how Yudhishthira Maharaj's kingdom, and when he was ruling, how everything is smooth and everything is quite proper. But Prabhuji, sometimes we can see also in Yudhishthira Maharaj's time, also Parikshit Maharaj's times, there are beggars are there, prostitutes are there, violence are there, even in Ramchandra time also there. Then how it is happened? If everything is proper, then how beggars, prostitutes and others are there?
Well, it's written in the Bhagavatam, prostitutes will always be there. But in the Varnashram system, there were no beggars. They were poor people, but not beggars. Maybe beggars, maybe one or two, but not a big number. The reason of prostitutes is that the higher circle, when they want to enjoy their sensual pleasures, and since it was very much in control, then they will go to prostitutes and enjoy or try to fulfill their lusty desires. So it's not that there were no prostitutes in the time. Even in the time of Krishna, there were prostitutes. As we go further in this chapter, you find how some of these prostitutes, dancing girls, were there even to welcome Krishna. They will dance and welcome Krishna. So it's not that the society will never have prostitutes or beggars or poor people. They will always be there. But at least the security was very strong. People were very safe. That is the difference in the time of Ramachandra. Everyone felt secure. I remember in 1960s and 70s, I was born in Nairobi. Our houses will never have boundary outside. There were no fence boundary outside. There were no gates outside. As the years built up, then the boundaries came, gates came. Now there are security wires. In every house is a security guard. Formerly, there was no necessity. Because the government was good. Government was strong. So you can see the influence of Kali Yuga coming so fast. Now, if you say 1960, that means 40 plus 20. In 60 years, so much has changed. Take another 60 years, how things will change more. It's okay, part two?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, we open this forum for the question answer. Please, you have any doubt or question, you can ask. Anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah.
Prabhu, with the prediction of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that the golden period is predicted for the next 9,500 years. So is there any hope that this period will be better, Prabhu, because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction and the golden age?
Yes, not just Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is also Shastric injunction that the first 10,000 years, means after the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's like Satyuga of Kali Yuga. And if the chanting of the holy name is profusely distributed, it will bring hope in people's life and people will be happier. And you'll find that it is true as they come closer, or at least people have some experience of the Krishna conscious movement. They have another angle of seeing things, better way of seeing things. They live a respectful life, tolerant life, happy life, spiritual life. This is all because of coming of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there is a hope. And that is what Sri Prabhupada wanted us, that we take advantage of this Satyuga of Kali Yuga, and we chant very nicely for the regulatory principles. And then he says, Sri Prabhupada, go back home in this very life. Don't think of even coming back, because things will deteriorate. This is Prabhupada's advice. Okay, Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other question, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, my humble obeisances to you. Yes, Prabhuji, I just wanted to ask that, Kali Yuga, Satyug, Dwapar Yuga, that is all like cyclic, isn't it? And like the progression of Kali Yuga, there is nothing we can do about it, isn't it? So only thing like we can do is try and progress into Krishna consciousness and try and sort of get out of the material world, but we can't improve or make any solutions for the Kali Yuga, isn't it? Is that right, Prabhu?
Yes, we can't make solution, but at least we actually, just like if there is some epidemic disease, then we get an inoculation. We immunize ourselves. So if we practice Krishna consciousness, we will immunize ourselves that the effects of Kali Yuga will not come on us. Or even if they come, it will be very little. You understand the meaning? By taking the shelter of the holy name, and by taking the shelter of the injunctions given in Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, and by our devotees who are following Srila Prabhupada, then we'll find that our life will be more happier than the other people, we will actually enjoy much happier life.
Okay,
So
okay.
this is the secret
Yes, yes.
of
That makes
Krishna
sense.
consciousness. Yeah, it
Yes, so
means
we
we can
reduce our
live better life even while living in Kali.
Okay,
Like this
okay.
verse appears in the Bhagavatam later on, almost towards the end.
Yes.
Kali doshi nidirajan eka ashti mahaguna Krishna Kirtanya Devasya Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Paravrajit. That even after all these faults of Kali Yuga, there is one good quality. And that quality is like sun, very bright. Is by doing Krishna Kirtan, you will overcome Kali Yuga.
Yes.
So we have to take advantage of this particular verse. And that is what Krishna consciousness movement is all about. So like just 2 or 3 days ago, we celebrated disappearance or day of his Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he says that his father Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings are taken, it's not only for India, it's even for the West. The whole world, if it takes the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the whole world will be a happier place and can become a happier place. So it depends on us how much we give out these teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to everyone. We should not see who is qualified, who is not qualified. We should give out to the best possible way the teachings of Mahaprabhu, and that begins by taking shelter of the Sankirtan movement.
Yes.
It's okay, Mataji? Yeah?
Yes, yeah, you're very well explained, Prabhu. That makes
Yeah.
sense because, when I was young and even now, like you said, there is no shame amongst young children and, there is young girls becoming pregnant and all that is happening in England as well. And I thought, what is the best solution because Kali Yuga is taking its effect. But you explained it nicely. Thank you.
Yeah, at least if we know, we have to make sure our family or people whom we know, they should be warned that this is not good. They should be given the teachings so that people refrain from these illicit activities.
Yes.
Now this thing, it will happen, but at least it will not spoil your heart. You know that, of course, when these things go wrong, it does give pain to your heart. But when you're aware of these facts, it does not give you much pain. We give the teachings, whether they accept or they don't accept, that's upon them. But we try to practice ourselves and try to make the best use, even while taking birth in Kali Yuga. That is the advice.
On camera, Anuj.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Is there any other question, please? I hope everybody understood all the things. It is very simple and very nice topic. So if no question, we can conclude this session. I request all the devotee, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His Grace. Rukma Prabhuji, please join.
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha
Vancha
kalpa
kalpatarubhyascha kripa Vaishnavibhyo namaha.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Rukma ki jai.
Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Hare Bol. We'll conclude the session. We'll meet tomorrow again in the same time. Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.